Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 124. I am Brendan. Wow, what a fight night. Font versus Vera. Holy crap. There were some bangers on this card, including the main event. Boy, was that exciting to watch. Super fucking cool. Anyway, we're going to get into that. Before we do, please, if you would take just 2 seconds of your life, just go click the subscribe button and then click the like if you do like this video. It would mean a lot to me. Plus, if you do like this stuff, if you like MMA, I do at least one of these every single week. And it'll let you know that, hey, the next video is out already. Go watch that one. I'd really appreciate it. It means a lot. All right, let's get into the fights. Main event here. Okay, there is a lot to talk about, both about this fight, what this means for the division going forward, and also, just in general about Marlon Vera and what a problem he is for a lot of fighters and a lot of fighting styles, at least in this division. Okay, so Marlon Vera ends up getting the decision here. 49-46, 49-46, and 48-47. I don't disagree with the 48-47 necessarily, but I had him winning 4 of the 5 rounds as well. There was one round where it could be close, but I still gave him 4 of the 5 rounds. Now, looking at the striking numbers here, and then let's go by round by round, kind of what happened. So Vera was landing low leg kicks early on and hoping that as the fight went on, Font would end up, reducing the amount. It would help reduce the amount of movement of Font because Font was both moving well and striking well, at least up top with the punches early on, and he was doing a majority of the damage in that first round. You look at the striking numbers here in the first round. It's actually kind of the story of the entire fight, to be honest. It's just in the first round, Vera didn't get one of his signature knockdowns of this fight. So in the first round here, Font outlands Vera 57-26, and he threw 100 strikes too, right? So he's throwing double the volume, landing double the volume, and he's looking great, honestly. Vera was getting picked apart on the feet, especially up top, even though he was keeping his guard tight and blocking some of them. Font was just putting on a beautiful, beautiful first round, using his jab, gauging distance, throwing some uppercuts in there. Looked amazing. Copy and paste what I just said to every single round, okay? Except in the second round, the exact same thing was happening. Look at the numbers. Almost identical as far as what he threw out, 97 as opposed to the 100 that Font threw out in the first round, right? So he threw out 97. He landed 51 of those 97 to Vera's 27. Almost identical. And if you're just looking at the striking numbers and you didn't watch the fight, you'd be like, oh, so he Font probably won the second round as well because it wasn't even close. Well, here's the problem. By the way they put these striking numbers on here is kind of deceiving because in this one it's 71-37, but they still show it looking like this. It has to do with the percentage of the total that they throw out here, so it's a little bit different. Anyway, near the end of the second round, because Vera had a better round, landing more leg kicks, he had one really good jab and did landed some decent body kicks. Even though he was losing the round, Font took a hook near the end of the round that dropped him right before the end, and then Vera didn't get the finish, but based off the damage he did from that shot and he landed some good shots during that round as well. I gave him the second round. If you gave Font that second round, I'm not mad at it. I'm really not, for a couple reasons. One, ton of cumulative damage. 51-27. And I understand that with the way that the point system is supposed to go, it's supposed to be immediate damage always trumps cumulative damage. But it only trumps it if the damage is equal, which is impossible to quantify while you're watching from a distance. But based off of how that entire round looked, if you gave that second round to Font, I'm not mad at it. I gave the second round to Vera. Third round, boy, oh boy. Same thing. So Font was getting back to the jab in the third round, using it perfectly. Vera was content just to take, Font was throwing out 5, 6 jabs in a row, and he was landing all of them, and Vera's just staring back at him. And then at the end of the third round, Vera landed a knee to drop Font. And now here's the other one. If you gave this round to Font, maybe you gave him this one because it didn't look as bad as maybe as this is the second round. And also the striking numbers, 71-37 in favor of Rob Font. 71. Okay? And I understand some of those might have been jabs, and a lot of them were jabs, but some of them were really good shots as well. He was landing a lot of damage. And if he doesn't take that knee, he wins that round. If he doesn't take that hook, he wins the second round. And then the rest of the fight doesn't matter unless there's a 10-8. But, he could have won this. Font did not get blown out here. You want to go look at their faces afterwards and say about how much damage Vera did and this and that. You want to talk up his game. You're more than welcome to sing the praises of Marlon Vera. But please do not discount Rob Font, nor say that this fight was a blowout, because it wasn't. There's essentially four shots that won Vera this fight. Each one of them was significant enough to hurt Font and get him to go to the ground. Actually, in the fifth round, I don't Vera was playing it safe more, even though he did connect. In the fourth round, he landed a heel to the head of Font early on, but there was 3 minutes left, and he still didn't. Vera didn't go for the finish in the fourth round, which is odd. That's why these striking numbers are so close, with 42-36 in favor of Font instead of the complete blowouts in the first 3 rounds as far as numbers go. And then in the fifth round, Font comes out. He's completely battered and busted up and everything, and he still outstruck him 50-33. So you want to talk about how good Vera is, you're more than welcome. You want to talk about how he beat Font, you're more than welcome. But please do not say this was a blowout. Please do not say that Font didn't belong in there, or that he can't challenge at the top. I don't want to hear any of that stuff, because there were essentially 3. We'll call it 3, because if he only lands one of those, he loses this fight. Right? If he only lands, let's say, the one in the fourth round, he loses this fight. Or if he only lands the one in the second round, he loses this fight. He was getting picked apart on the feet by a superior volume striker. And I think it's the same story that happened with him versus Frankie Edgar, which was stopped early, I might add. But he was losing that fight too until he got the finish. So, I'm not a fan of Vera's attitude after fights or before, outside of the octagon. With he has a very negative attitude, and he's kind of not a crybaby. He's just a sourpuss about losing his, and he flicks people off after fight. It's just, it's not the other guy's fault that you lost. It's the judges or yours, right? It's not the other person's. They didn't make that decision. The judges did. But anyway, I thought, like I said, Vera looked great. I thought Font looked great. To be honest with you, I thought he looked excellent. So, what does this mean for Marlon Vera going forward? Well, that's the thing. Before this, Font was 5, Vera was 8. So what do you do now? I mean, you can't put him ahead of Merab. Merab's on a crazy streak. I put Rob. Merab probably goes up to 5. Vera could pass Dominic Cruz, because Cruz has been relatively inactive. Relatively, compared to these people. Relatively. So Font drops below. Font could drop below Merab and Vera, but not. I wouldn't drop him below Cruz. So you put what? You move Cruz down to 8, Font to 7, and then everybody else up. Okay. So here's the thing. Vera's next opponent has to be somebody up here now. He has to be. Okay? Has to be a Merab or a Sandhagen or an Aldo, not a Dillashaw, and not a Peter Yan. Definitely not Sterling. And I'm pretty sure he's got 3 wins in a row. Davy Grant, Frankie Edgar. Good win, but that doesn't put him, in contention with that win. And, he's got the loss to Aldo already. He has that controversial loss to Song Yadong, even though it was a unanimous decision. And he has the less than favorable win over Sean O'Malley because of the injury, right? Whether it was caused by him or not, it wasn't caused he didn't cause it in the moment that it happened or that it was displayed. Sorry. From O'Malley. So, it's not the most impressive win on his resume. So, I wouldn't run that back yet. I would let Sean O'Malley keep working his way back up. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't run back Aldo just yet, but you're more than welcome to. The Sandhagen fight sounds like fun. And that's pretty much it. I think Sandhagen and, see, as I said, this is the problem, is he's already fought Aldo. He's not fighting Dillashaw, and he's not fighting Jan. I mean, well, maybe he could fight Jan, because Jan's coming off that loss. And Jan's fought Sandhagen and Aldo already, so he would be a fresh matchup. But Merab's also a fresh matchup, and I would rather see that because I think Merab's done enough here. Anyway, Vera looked good, okay? He looked good. I thought is this a winning strategy, though? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, he just beat the number 5 guy in the world, so it can work. Does it work more often than it doesn't against the upper echelon? I mean, we're going to find out. If it does, if this style of his, to where he only needs to he lands one real significant shot each round, and that wins him the round, but he still ends up getting like decision wins, essentially giving away a majority of the fight. It seems like a dangerous game. The fact that he's done it multiple times now means that it's a viable strategy. But to me, it doesn't seem like a good one. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking him or his style, because I think his fighting style itself, right? I don't think there's a problem with it necessarily. It's just this strategy of giving away 80% of a fight or 90% of a fight and still winning, but still winning by decision because you land one significant strike or two significant strikes that change the outcome of that round, right? So you let me know. What do you think? Am I being too harsh? Actually, I'm not. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to criticize Vera here. What I mean in general. Like, is that strategy viable, or is it only viable for a certain percentage of people? Because there are people with that strategy, like go in there, throw bombs, and win the fight by knockout, right? Classic Roy, Big Country Nelson. Obviously, everybody knew what he was trying to do. He's going in there to knock you out. Mark Hunt wasn't winning on volume, but he would sometimes, you know what I mean? But he was really trying to win with the big shot. Francis Ngannou is another one right now, but he's winning by knockout early, except when he doesn't. That's the thing, is you don't see this strategy very often, where someone essentially gets outstruck and outpointed a majority of the fight, but can still win each round or round by round fight. It's just odd. What a blast to watch, though. Font looked amazing. He looked smooth. He looked in there, and he was 100% offense, and he would get caught for it. And Vera, Vera's tough as nails. He wears things really well. He rolls with punches really well, and he lands hard shots, and that's what got him the win here. It was a fun fight to watch. It was a really good fight night. Okie dokes. Let's talk about the other fight that's in the thumbnail here. Andrei Arlovski versus Jake Collier. Okay. Andrei Arlovski versus Jake Collier. What do you make of this? What do you guys think? Do you think he won? Don't you do this because you love Andrei and you have nostalgic glasses, because that's me. Like, I'll break it down round by round from my point of view, and looking at these numbers, fresh here. I look at these numbers with you guys, right? Because like I write all of my notes as I watch the fight because I want to be absent of the numbers. I want to watch it as if I am watching the fight as a judge, okay? And they are not privy to the numbers, therefore my initial scorings have to be without those numbers. So looking at these numbers though, it's a tight one. So the Andrei Arlovski ends up getting the decision. Mike Bell went 30-27 to Jake Collier. I often agree with Mike Bell. I have found in the past, since I've been doing these round by round scorings and paying attention to the judges and the names and the people making the decisions, I think lately I have agreed with Mike Bell quite a bit. I don't agree with the score. I did call it for Collier, as much as nostalgia didn't want me to. But Doug Crosby and Sal D'Amato both gave 2 rounds to Andrei Arlovski, giving him the win 29-28. So you never like to see that. But given the fight and how it took place, I think this is one of those situations where one judge going 30-27 and the other two, they could have even gone, it would have been unlikely going 30-27 the other way because of round 1, but it could have been. Right? It's one of those things where this fight, these scores, these scorecards here aren't outlandish, and I'm not mad about the decision. Again, I'm an Arlovski fan, but I'm being honest and trying to be objective here. I don't see an issue with this. Okay? I did not call the fight for him. Let's get into it real quick. So Collier swinging away and throwing more volume, landing more through like the first 3 minutes of the fight, and then Arlovski kind of picked it up a little bit near the end of that first round. But there was a lead elbow from Collier that cut Andrei open, right here, right above the right eye, so right by the nose. So the blood was dripping down the nose. It was clean, wasn't getting into his eye or anything. But the damage clearly on the side of Collier, and you want to see in the striking numbers, it plays that out as well. So he's landing the bigger shots. He landed more of them. Damage clearly went to Collier, and he was pressuring. A lot of these fights lately with Arlovski, the fighters aren't willing to pressure him, and when they do, they kind of get into this grapple situation, and Arlovski is very crafty. He does just enough to throw people off balance and off timing, just landing enough each round to get the win. And as we saw last night, that's exactly what happened here. So in the second round, Jake was chasing Andrei around the octagon quite a bit, throwing his looping punches, and they weren't landing as much or as well in the second round. Andrei was landing some big shots of his own, some straight rights, some jabs, going right between the guard of Collier. I wrote the notes. I was like, I really have to see the numbers, but I think I am blinded by nostalgia, and I gave it to Andrei, especially because at the very end of the round, there was a little flurry from Andrei where he landed some good shots, 3 or 4 of them. He threw probably like 10 or 12 shots there at the end of the round. So I had it 19-19 going into the third. And you want to look at the striking numbers. That little flurry there at the end is what gave Arlovski the advantage in the striking numbers. So that second round, I am not mad at. Okay? I'm not mad at that round. Here's where I disagree. So the third round, Collier had the better shots. Okay? He had the better shots. I thought he did more damage. I gave him the last round 29-28. Looking at these striking numbers, 32-32. Can't get any closer than that. But here's the difference. I've mentioned this before. I've talked about it before, how striking accuracy does not matter, right? Having a higher striking accuracy doesn't help you win the round by itself, right? Inherently, it carries no numerical value or scoring value, okay? It has a value as far as conservation of energy and technique and all of those other things, but as far as winning the round in itself, accuracy is actually not what you want. And here's what Collier threw: 77 shots. Now, he only landed 41% of them, but that same number was how many That's the same number of strikes that Arlovski landed. So they landed the same. Collier threw more, and I still felt like he did more damage. But let's say all things being equal, right? Let's say grappling was kind of a 50-50, probably back and forth. Control was probably about the same. Effective striking was about the same. Let's give it that. I thought Collier landed the bigger shots, but let's give that the same. Collier was throwing more offense. He was trying to end the fight. He was actively throwing offense out, which counts. That's a point, right? That's something that can be counted for you, and he was doing more. And, he was very upset after the fight, too. He's like, you got to be kidding me. One judge goes 30-27. That is not a failure. Normally I'm all for shit on Saul D'Amato, like as anybody else is, or any bad judging decision. This is not one of those times. As much as on the face of it, watching it, you could be like, oh, clearly Collier won that round. Looking at these striking numbers, that second round, you could give it to Collier. I could see that. I'm not mad at Mike Bell for giving him that round because he did land some good shots of his own. And if you don't know that Arlovski landed 3 more and you don't think he did more, that's fine. But I had Arlovski winning that round. And it played out in the numbers as well. But this third round, if you're not going to that secondary, if you feel that Arlovski had a better grappling advantage and he had more control of that octagon, you want to look at control time. Control time in that third round was all to Collier, so it can't be that. Total striking, he threw more total strikes as well. Landed 1 more. Oh, yeah, and he got that takedown. That's why he had that control time. I do remember that. So if you consider that, oh, yeah, and he did get a takedown in that second round, but it was pretty meaningless, and he didn't land any damage. So it's not going to outweigh the damage that I feel that Andrei Arlovski did in that second round. But in the third round, when they're both equal, a takedown is a takedown. That's 1 point for you. So I really don't agree with this one. I did feel that Collier should have won this fight. It's not a robbery. It was relatively close, but it's one of those things where it is what it is. Now, I've said this how many times now? I said it after the last one when he fought Jared Vandera. I've said it after when he fought Carlos Felipe. And I said it when I don't know if I said it when he fought Chase Sherman. He's on a 4-fight win streak in the heavyweight division. Now, I don't know if he's necessarily ranked as a heavyweight. Let me look. I don't think he was ranked anymore. Nope. But he could be. He's got 4 wins in a row. Controversial or not. Dude, he's fought everybody and their grandma. How many fights does this guy have? Remember, yeah. 56 fights. 56 fights at heavyweight. Unbelievable. With the amount of knockouts and the fact that he's 34-20, right? He had a spell there where he lost a lot, and he's had in his last run here, he's had a couple spats where he was losing quite a bit. I don't know. Again, this is a nostalgia thing for me. It might be, I might be blinded by nostalgia, but I'm just happy for Andrei Arlovski. I'm excited that maybe he could go fight for a title again. Let's see him versus Stipe one more time. Let me know what you guys think. Did you think he actually won that fight? Yes or no? I'm guessing a majority you're going to say no. That's okay. I don't think he won it either. Moving on, Andrei Fili versus Joanderson Brito. That name is longer than the fight lasted. 41 seconds into the first round, we can look at numbers. Oh, cool, look at that. You don't really have to see any. The numbers bear it out. Brito landed a big, sloppy right hand right on the chin. It's a big looping, thrown from your grandmother's house, right hand, and it just landed right on the chin of Fili. You could say lucky punch or whatever you want to call it. You make your own luck. You put yourself in those positions. Is it the most skillful shot that has ever landed? Is it the most well-timed or perfectly placed? No. None of that stuff. It was a big sloppy right hook, overhand hook thingy, and it landed. It did the job, and Fili went down. He recovered a little bit, but Brito was able to land more damage. She wasn't able to recover fast enough, and the referee had to call it stops on that one. Not a bad stoppage by Herb Dean. Not mad at that at all. Good stoppage. Short fight. Moving on here. Grant Dawson versus Jared Gordon. Okay, so this fight had a lot going on. Grant Dawson ends up getting the rear naked choke in the third round with less than a minute to go. So at 4:11, 49 seconds left was the official stoppage time in the third round. Okay, this was a fun fight to watch. It was back and forth the whole time, but I felt that Dawson was getting the better of the exchanges. So here in the first round, wow, I didn't realize that was striking. I didn't know the striking numbers were that in favor of Gordon, 20-15. So the way I saw it on the feet, Gordon was landing the better shots. I really did. I thought, but then Dawson got him down, took his back, laid on him, and landed some grounded pound. Now those shots might not have been counted into the significant strike numbers. Yeah, they weren't counted into the significant strike numbers, so they went into the total strikes. So 51-22. That's where I felt like he did the amount of damage that he kind of went up on Gordon, especially because he had the positional domination where he took his back, had put in the body triangle, and kind of went to the side and was landing decent shots. And in the second round, Gordon got up and got out of a lot of bad positions. But, even though he did that this time in the second round, as opposed to spending a lot of the first round being dominated, there's still, a ton of Dawson still had a ton of control time, 3 minutes and 42 seconds in that second round. And it just wasn't enough to give it to him. And then on top of that, the significant striking numbers were also closer in this round. Dawson, I guess, got totally outstruck here in the second round. So if you gave that to Jared Gordon, I'm not mad at it. But the way I was watching it, it seemed like Dawson was going 1-for-1 and then also, was able to get a dominant position. Here's where things got interesting. So the third round, this is where it all came to it. The last round was Jared Gordon's by far, right? And if you gave that second round to Gordon, he's working for a win right now, and he kept it standing most of the time in space, and he was doing a majority of the damage, and then Dawson was fading. He was getting tired. He started to fade. And with around like a minute left to go, Dawson ends up getting the back, and then with 50 seconds left, the rear naked choke gets sunk in. It wasn't even full rear naked. He just gets under the chin and squeezes hard enough, and then Gordon taps. So, the grit and determination from Dawson was awesome. The fact that Gordon never quit was awesome. It was a great fight, fun fight to watch. I do recommend, if you did skip that and you only watched the main event, that is one to watch. Honestly, this whole main card was worth the watch. Okay, it really was. Especially because this next fight that we're going to talk about here. Darren Elkins versus Tristan Connelly. Oh, man. Darren Elkins just getting it done. Sorry, I got to pull up the numbers for that one. Darren Elkins just doing the work and getting it done, right? Just doing the damn thing, doing what he needs to do. It's weird. Elkins was doing some of his best grappling pressure that I have seen in a very long time. He was doing the damage himself instead of taking the damage in that first round, and it played out. Look at the striking numbers: 10-7, 19-7. Like it was all Elkins in that first round. 10-9, easy peasy. Elkins ended up getting the the decision. So in one of the things that happened in the second round, Jason Herzog restarted restarted the fight in the correct position where Elkins was on the back on all fours due to a fence grab from Tristan Connelly, because he grabbed the fence and stopped the takedown. I loved it. I loved it. That was a great, a great job by the referee, Jason Herzog. It was such a good move. I'm glad he did it. I think more referees should take advantage of that stuff. Whenever you see a fence grab, if you're not going to immediately take a point, at least punish the fighter by taking away any advantage that he has. If he's on the outside of a grappling exchange, right, where his opponent has the back to the fence and he's squeezing him into the fence and he grabs it with his fingers in, boom, separate him, get him out of there. Okay, prevents a takedown, gets a takedown, does literally anything. Take it away from him. Take any advantage that he had, take it away. You're not affecting the score of the fight. You're just resetting the position and taking away any advantage that fence grab gave. I think that is an excellent technique, and it should be utilized not more often. I think it should be utilized every single time. Every time. I don't think there should be a hesitation from a single referee on the UFC, not the UFC staff, because that's how they are, and any commission. The instant somebody grabs a fence, bam, take the position away. Any advantage. I gave that second round to Elkins. He Connelly did more damage on the feet in the second half of that round, and you can see the striking numbers play that out, 34-28 in favor of Connelly for the second round. I just thought Elkins did more with the control, and I felt like he did enough damage to get that second round. I mean, all three judges gave all three rounds to Elkins, so maybe I saw it that way as well. I gave that second round to Elkins. And then in the last round here, Connelly was having such a good round, fighting the pressure and landing more damage on the feet, but then got taken down. And Elkins ended the fight on the back, landing ground and pound from the side angle, looking for the rear naked choke. And the thing is, I gave Elkins that last round too, and the numbers play that out as well, 28-25 in favor of Elkins. Good God, man. Doing damage himself this time, not taking that much damage. He took a little bit. He got cut open, but I thought he did an excellent job here. Awesome for him. I'm glad he's still fighting to the best of his ability. He's a little punch drunk, and it doesn't make me super excited seeing him fight to like he's 50 years old. But, more power to him. Gerald Meerschaert versus Jotko. Jotko. This, not the most exciting fight. If you're going to skip a fight on the main card, this is the one. Not for any bad reason. Just, if you're not really into MMA, you're probably not going to like this round. Like this fight. So Jotko was controlling the entire first round, striking at distance. Jotko ended up getting the decision win here. Gerald, he just wasn't doing anything. He didn't have any good opportunities to land. Wasn't landing a lot of damage. Didn't get any takedowns or do anything crazy. 30-13 in favor of Jotko in that first round. Really played out that way too. What you see is what you get for the striking numbers there. Second round was more the same. It was a closer round with Gerald getting some good strikes in himself, grappling back and forth, but Jotko is just getting the better of everything, striking numbers 21-9 in favor of Jotko yet again. In the third round here, Meerschaert actually outlanded him. I did not see that playing out at all. Looking at the total striking numbers here, total strikes in that third round, that's where the numbers are, 37-16 in favor of Jotko. I feel like, I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure Jotko did more in that third round. Meerschaert was going for a ton of submissions off his back, and he was trying to do everything he could to get a win. He just couldn't get it done. And this is what Meerschaert has, one of those, not similar to Vera, because I think Meerschaert's is a much worse strategy. But it's this thing where you're just a tough guy who takes damage, and then you are looking for a position, getting advantage in a position where you can get a finish. I don't think it's a long-term winning strategy. I think eventually people are going to get wise to it, and enough of them are going to stop you from doing it. And you're going to You're going to lose more than you win, right? At least at the highest level. I'm sure, the gap in skill level is going to put you over the top when it comes to like less skilled fighters and lower level competition. But as far as the long term, I don't see that being a winning strategy. All right, that is the main card of UFC Vegas. What was this? 58? I don't know. I always call them Fight Night. This was Font versus Vera. I just call them the Fight Night, so that's what I do. I appreciate it if you make it this far. It means a lot to me. And if you did make it this far, please just click the subscribe button. It's right there, man. Just do it. Just click it. Just do it. Click the like button. It would mean a lot to me. If you like this video, I appreciate it. Again, thank you guys so much for watching these. I appreciate it. If you're looking for the prelims, I went over those on the next video. should be on the playlist, episode 125, and then I did the PFL earlier this week. So if you want, I would go check that video out because I go over the PFL event that happened earlier this week. A lot of interesting stuff going on over there. So with that, later, y'all. Have a good week.